You think baseball in New York, you probably think of Yankee or Shea Stadium, but how about a Broadway theater? New York One's Bud Mishkin reports.
September 23rd, 1908. My New York Giants were hosting the Chicago Cubs. The hated Chicago Cubs.
The time is now, and about 90 years ago. One of the greatest pitchers of all time, Christy Mathewson, is back on Broadway in a one-man show written and performed by Eddie Frierson.
It's Mathewson's words using baseball as a metaphor for life, how all of us have the same common experiences.
That's right. I said Mathewson's back on Broadway.
He performed a whole winter on the vaudeville circuit and actually performed at the Hammerstein Theater here in New York back in 1910. At a time when fellows were making $6,000 a year to play ball, they could make $1,000 a week doing the vaudeville circuit.
How does one come to Christy Mathewson as a theatrical subject? Frierson played baseball at UCLA while getting his degree in theater arts. After school, he searched for a subject for a one-man show. In 1982, Frierson's father bought a copy of a book written by Mathewson in 1912, Pitching in a Pinch. 2 years later, Frierson dusted it off the shelf. He'd found his man.
It talked to me. It was a great subject, and these characters like Hannes Wagner and Ty Cobb and Fred Merkel and Charlie Faust jumped off these pages to me, and I said, this is great.
Additional research on Mathewson introduced Frierson to a man who shrewdly played the stock market, co-authored a Broadway play, befriended presidents, and oh yes, won 373 games.
He was just a fascinating character. Here's a fellow who was the most popular person in the country for 15 years at the beginning of this century. He was the vehicle used by the New York press to turn baseball into the national pastime.
At a time when the game was dominated by ruffians, Mathewson was a college graduate and a gent.
He was just a special type of a man, and yet in the same breath he wasn't this giant icon that today's history books try to make him.
After he retired from baseball, Mathewson served as an officer in World War I. He was gassed in France, contracting tuberculosis, eventually dying of the disease in 1925.
Lose graciously out in the open, but to yourself, lose bitterly and learn from it. You can learn very little from a victory, but you can learn everything from defeat.
Frierson first staged his show in Los Angeles.
I was born in a small town, Factoryville, Pennsylvania.
Now he is introducing Mathewson's story to audiences at the Lambs Theater on West 44th Street.
It became something that affects all audience members, whether they like baseball or despise sports of any kind, and that was our goal. If you're able to touch just one life in a positive manner, you have succeeded in your own. And I certainly feel that success every night I go out on stage and bring this man to the public.
In Midtown, Bud Mishkin, New York One.